welcome to Positive Nerd Podcast, the podcast that takes subjects that divides fandoms and tries to unite them. And I'm your host, Wee Claire, and today I'm always with her every single week. It's Liz, my co-host. Hi.
Hello.
Yay! Hi Liz, how are you doing? You alright?
I'm good.
Yay.
I am doing okay.
Good. We're getting there. For those who are not watching this live, there was some technical difficulties, but as long as you can hear this loud and clear on Spotify, iTunes, nerdjabber.com, or YouTube, that's the main thing. So, what are we talking about tonight? So, you guys know we take these subjects every single week. Liz chooses a subject that's kind of like topical. I choose a subject that's maybe a little bit kind of like evergreen. And then we have Liz's Comic Corner. So, here's what we've got tonight. We are going to be talking about whether we should recast Captain Marvel entirely, and Liz will explain that in a little bit more detail because it's a little bit more complex than that. Then we're going to be going over to Liz's Comic Corner, where we're going to be talking about the criminally insane Purple Man. Oh yes, look at that beautiful cover. Look at it. Look at that. Beautiful, lovely. And then we're going to be talking about whether superhero movies are actually real movies. Are they real movies? So, Liz, let's start off with a little bit of Captain Marvel chat. Okay, so I've explained it away as pretty much, Captain Marvel, people making some noise online about Captain Marvel being recast. But it's not as simple as that. You explain to me how we first saw this story.
Okay, well, last week there was a big announcement about Captain Marvel. They announced a 2022 release date for Captain Marvel 2. They announced that the directors who did the first film would be departing from it. They wouldn't be doing the second one, but they have got a screenwriter for it who is Megan McDonnell, who is one of the writers on the WandaVision series. So this was all pretty exciting news.
Yes, very exciting.
I think everybody was always jazzed to hear a release date for a new Marvel film. So there was a lot of excitement. But of course, as has sort of been the case with Captain Marvel, there was also a backlash. So within a day or two of that announcement, a petition went up online to replace Brie Larson in the role of Captain Marvel with an actress of color, probably to be cast as Monica Rambeau, who was the first female Captain Marvel. And they are asking Brie Larson to step down from the role.
Yes, this petition, it's very trolly, I would say, as you described earlier on. Now, what are people's problems with Brie Larson? I'm actually, you know what, I'm going to read out some tweets here and then we're going to get into it. Because I think it's more, like what you've said, there's like different layers here and it's more complex than just saying people don't like Brie Larson, they want Monica Rambeau and blah, blah, blah. But I think that it's being masked as something else. I think that that's all valid, and I actually think that we should get a Monica Rambeau down the line, and I think it's going to be really great, because what a great character Monica Rambeau is. And we saw her in the movie as well, very briefly in the movie, as a little girl. But let's have a look at some of the tweets. Let's just look at some of the tweets. So covering your little face there because we've had to change the video dimensions. But I've got here, so you're just peeking over the tweet there. I think Brie is a great actress, and I even like her in real life personality based on interviews. But for some reason, I find her performance as Captain Marvel really bland. That said, I think it's more an issue with the direction because, as you said, Brie is supremely talented. What do you make of that tweet? That's just talking about Brie in the role, but that person didn't think that she lived up to the awesomeness that is Captain Marvel in the comics, or maybe they hadn't read the comics, but that's how I felt. So what's your take on that, Liz?
I think that's kind of I think that's fair. I think, and I like that it's separating the actress, and whatever her, feelings are in real life about things. And even saying, oh yeah, I like her in real life, but my actual problem was her performance as Captain Marvel, and it doesn't really feel like Captain Marvel to me. And that's kind of fair. I think, and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Brie Larson. You have to look at it as she's a very talented actress. She's won an Oscar. She's been very
Yeah.
good in many other things, but it could have to do with direction. In fact, like we know the directors have now departed, so you might get a very different Carol in the second film.
What was the Carol that you wanted to see on the big screen? So when we talk about a very different Carol, etc., like, because I've got a picture here of Captain Marvel from the comic book just coming up here. So what is it you expected to see when you watched Captain Marvel? What were your feelings?
Well, I feel like part of it has to do with even the storyline they chose for her, which is that she has amnesia. She's like, kind of working out who she is, like what her identity is. And that I think has something to do with how she portrayed the character. Now, the Carol I know from the comics, that's not really like, my introduction to her was when she was Ms. Marvel in like the black costume with the lightning bolt across the chest. And, she didn't have those sort of identity issues that she was kind of trying to figure out who she was so much in that way. She was trying to figure out who she was as a superhero. And that stuff to me was really interesting. And that's something I'd like to see them explore maybe in the next film. But I felt like she played it very sort of stoic, very sort of soldierly, which is, is in character because, she is Air Force. So she would be sort of, she would have those qualities. But I feel like people, my main qualm with her portrayal in Captain Marvel was that I didn't really feel like I ever got to connect with her as a character, like, really, meet Carol, the Carol I know from the comics, and maybe people who've never read the comics would have felt like they never really got to know her in the film.
Yeah, no, I think you're right with the kind of stoic portrayal. I was going in there really excited because I do like Captain Marvel as a character in the comics, but I feel like the directors, and you're totally right, it could be a direction issue. I feel that perhaps the directors, or for whatever reason, because they go through it going, remember to suppress your emotions, keep those emotions in check, and it's almost like she took that very literally and really suppressed all of her emotions, so you see nothing.
There is a big thing. There's like, yeah, totally, there's that theme that goes through the movie of like, oh, Carol, stop being so emotional, and she's standing there with like this complete stone face, like, which is really funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where I think there was a lot of hype around it as well. I think that Brie hasn't done herself any favours with perhaps outside the movie in junkets and junket situations as well. I don't know Brie Larson personally, obviously. None of us do. And it could just be a matter of perhaps she doesn't like interview situations, she doesn't like junkets. On my day job, I work with actors and I work with people in junkets and those situations, and it's not the great experience for everyone, doing the interviews bit. So I think people should be easier on her. I want to explain a little bit more though about what I'm talking about just now. I've got another tweet up. Sorry, it's covering most of you, but you're just peeping over the tweet like you're just looking down on it. I don't think she's a bad actress. I'm personally just not a fan of some of the stuff she says. I don't hate her or have anything against her. Just don't like some stuff she says. The fact that they've said it twice. But saying she should be replaced is just too much. She fits the role well, I think. So explain to me, Liz, when this person's saying some of the stuff she says, because I was touching upon it there. So what does that person mean?
Okay, so to put that into context, around the time that Captain Marvel came out, during some of the junkets, and then sort of reiterated in other speeches she's made. She made a speech at the Crystal and Lucy Awards that had to do with the same thing, which is inclusivity in the press room.
Yes.
um,
Okay.
which I think, she's very well intentioned there. I think what she was trying to say basically is, I would like to see more diversity in the press room. I would like to see different voices being heard, when it comes to reviewing these films. But I think the way she put it, was a little bit off-putting to some people, because the way she put it was like, I don't want to see a bunch of white dudes.
Mm.
Just a bunch of white dudes. Like, I don't care what a white dude has to say about A Wrinkle in Time, for example, which is, that's a quote of hers. And I think that despite her good intentions, I think that maybe that was a bit combative, the way she phrased things. And then also during some of the interviews that she did, like, she kind of famously had this like sort of uncomfortable interview with Chris Hemsworth, that
Mm-hmm.
seemed kind of combative. And so, I think a lot of that stuff has rubbed people up the wrong way about her.
Mm-hmm. I could, again, like, I'd like to always give people the benefit of the doubt, because we are just fans of a franchise and fans of a comic or fans of a character. Um, I'm actually not that bothered about people in their personal lives. I don't really care for what she may or may not be as a person. I don't really care. I did see the Chris Hemsworth interview, and it did look a little bit strange. And I watched it with Paul, my Paul, and Paul was like, "Oh, that seems a bit odd. Like, the chemistry's a bit weird." She might just be an oddbod. We're all oddbods. Maybe she's just feeling awkward, and or maybe she woke up on the wrong side of the bed. You know what? Brie Larson's a human being, and at the end of the day, support the film if you like the film. You don't have to critique the character behind it. Yes, okay, she could be. I think, Liz, honestly, she could probably be a little bit more soft with the way she says things. I mean, it's a bunch of white dudes. Like, hey, just say more diversity would be good. It's the same thing. It's the same
Right.
thing. You don't
Yeah.
have to be
Yeah.
soft and feminine about it and go, excuse me, just say more diversity. I think we'll all get what you
Yeah.
mean. And I think
Yeah.
this petition you were talking about, so this brings us back to the petition. Do you think this petition is really to get a Monica Rambeau character out there?
I really think it's a dig at Brie, to be honest. I really think it's a way of sort of calling her out on her, sort of uh, desire for more inclusivity, and the way she kind of phrased that and went about that, by saying, okay, well, if you want more diversity here, why don't you give the role to an African American actress? Why don't you step down as Captain Marvel and put your money where your mouth is, or, something to that effect.
Now, I had a little look at the petition, because you did mention to me when we were talking about this earlier, like, yeah, it's a bit trolly. So I scrolled down. You don't have to scroll down very far, but I was looking at the comments, and I thought, I wonder what people are saying, and people are going, oh, Monica Rambeau, etc. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one person just, like, getting on at her because he just doesn't like her,
Yeah.
I'm saying he because I assume it's under the pseudonym DB. I assume it's a guy. I don't know why I just assumed that, but I just I feel like there's just been a lot of trolling around this, and I've got this like tweet coming up where it says, "Easily offended white men assemble." It's kind of like a bit of a meme. Um, I don't know. Like, I think online, I actually think Captain Marvel has had. If I'm going to be really honest, I honestly think that Captain Marvel's has had a positive effect on people, regardless of what you think of the film. I think it's really important. Not every film's going to be great, but I do think it's important in terms of, I'm going to Comic Cons now, and I'm seeing not only little girls dressing up as Wonder Woman, but now little girls dressing up as Captain Marvel, and also I saw a little girl, 10 years old, cosplaying in the flight suit, and I was like, oh, cool.
Oh,
And I thought that was cool,
that's great.
that was really great.
It is.
And I saw one little girl cosplaying, so she had a family, it's her and her family, and she had a slightly older brother who's also in a flight suit as well, but she had the, Captain Marvel thing, and she had like Captain Marvel kind of stuff, and I thought, that's cute, like, I think that's really positive. So
Yeah, totally. And like, I think that, you know, like regardless of whether people are putting these petitions up and everything, like she's been cast in the role. Like she's not going away anytime soon. She's got a 7-film contract. Get used to it. Get on
Yeah.
board with it, or just don't go to see the film if you really don't like her.
Yeah, exactly.
And as for like people who genuinely want to see Monica, I honestly think that's going to happen. I really do.
Yeah.
I think we will get Monica as Captain Marvel at some point, but right now we've got Brie, and that's I'm okay with that.
The thing is with comic book fans, okay, so let's just say it's just the issue of Monica Rambeau. Comic book fans know about Monica Rambeau, right? We've known about her,
Yeah.
right? She's there. If you're purely a film-going fan with no, basis of whatever in the comics, you won't know about Monica Rambeau. So these things have to be introduced like they're the first time we're introducing them. If you just stick in a Monica Rambeau now, like people go, okay, like I just feel we have to introduce people to the world and the characters. We've only seen one Captain Marvel film, so we've barely seen any of her vibe, really. So we'll get there. I'd love to see Monica Rambeau, and clearly she's the little girl in the film, So
Yeah.
by this time in 2020, that little girl will be in her like late 30s, or she could easily be Monica Rambeau now. So like I'm up for it. I'm up for seeing a bit of diversity, of course. But I mean, do you think people should leave Brie alone? Just leave her alone?
I think people should just relax and maybe just try and not let whatever the actress is saying bother you so much. It's it actually really has nothing to do with what's going to happen in the film. And if you're genuinely a fan of the film, just wait for the next one. Like see what you're going to get. I think it's going to be really good. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, because like that first film was her like phase 1 film, and those are always, just kind of laying it out for you. I feel like the second film to me is always more interesting.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I think everyone needs to just, if you're a fan, what Liz said, you know what Liz said, that's exactly what we're going to leave. What Liz said. We need a sound effect or something, just like a kind of doom, like a kind of like pound or whatever, like, yes, what Liz said. I'm going to try and work that into the podcast. As we go through, Liz, there will be sound effects that surprise you, and I'm sorry. So
I bring it on.
If anytime we talk about arms, there might be ooh, ooh, because we talked about arms in the last one. Remember, you have to go back and subscribe on iTunes and Spotify. But let's switch gears now, because what Liz said I think is perfect, and it ends on a positive note. So we'll leave it there. Let's switch to Liz's Comic Corner.
Yay!
Yay! Oh, Liz's Comic Corner! Sorry, I pressed the wrong buttons there. So we've got Liz's Comic Corner now. So Liz, tell us what you have chosen this week.
This week I chose a reprint that they are billing as True Believers, Criminally Insane Purple Man, but
Yes.
was originally Daredevil issue 4 from 1964 by Stan Lee and Joe Orlando.
I love the front cover. We're looking at the front cover now, and I love that front cover. It's so brilliant, really old school. I mean, the whole way it's like written as well, like is very, very much, of that time.
Like old covers, I love like old covers. They're great. They're always great. And one of the things about this that I love is this is one of the very few early issues in which he is wearing the yellow costume. By issue 7, he's changed out of the yellow costume into the red that we know.
Yes, we can see it here. So the sort of red gloves, yellow. I don't like this costume. I'm not sure why.
It is not like the most popular look for him, but because you only had 6 issues with it, like until much later on, they've brought it back a little bit here and there. But as far as it being his original costume, it's only there until issue 6, and so this is our issue 4.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I'm just not sure about that costume. So tell me, Why did you choose this? This is an interesting one. I really enjoyed reading it, actually. I would never pick this up. I don't read enough old comics, so I'm glad that you've set me homework every week because it's forcing
You
me.
know what? I think that's why I chose it, to be honest. I think, I was just like, oh, you know what? This looks like a cool old issue. I want to talk about this. I think more people should read these old comics. And, and this is a really nice way to do it because it's the first appearance of a character that, now from like high profile TV series. And it's an interesting character who was really pretty obscure for many, many years. But there he is right in the very, early issues of Daredevil. And I thought it would just be kind of fun to talk about.
So for those who don't know, because some people might not be into Marvel or DC or any of those kind of comics, like, let's just talk about in terms of like villains, right? What's Purple? If you haven't seen Jessica Jones season 1 either, what is the Purple Man's power? Explain to us.
So the Purple Man, basically, he emits a pheromone that gives him the power of persuasion. So if he, as he does in this issue, walks into a bank, goes up to the teller and says, "Give me a suitcase full of $100 bills," they'll say, "Yes, of course, sir. Have a wonderful day."
So it's quite a good power, an interesting power. Well, not good power because it's terrible, but like that shows you where my mind is. I'm like,
if you're a villain, it's a great power.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting power as well, and one if you've watched Jessica Jones season 1 where you really he's quite a sort of nasty character. Like that's David Tennant who plays Purple Man. Now, the Purple Man, we see, it's very old school, this comic, and very much like of the time. We've got Karen in there and stuff, and Foggy, and then there's the reveal that Foggy kind of likes her, and Daredevil likes her as well. Matt Murdock. So it's very, very old school, and she's just very much a prop. She doesn't really do anything. She just sort of wanders around.
And their secretary, and they both kind of have little crushes on her, and it is very old school. They say some kind of non-PC things occasionally, like by the end she's like, "Oh, I'm just a silly female, what do I know?"
Yeah, exactly. But it's so of the time, and it's quite the good thing about reading old comics like that is you go back, and it's like a snapshot of history, and the way society was, and the way how we felt about heroes, how we felt about men and women, how we felt about people and things. And I quite like that. So whether people cancel these things or not, like, oh, it's such a terrible thing to say or whatever, like, I think these comics are very important, and I think Purple Man, I never really understood that it was a pheromone that he emitted, but Purple Man's a really interesting villain because he's not strong, and he's not it's not like he's super, super clever, and he's not super, super strong. He just says stuff. And he's like,
yeah.
So what would you?
But he's clever enough to get people to do his bidding for him, So even though he never has to throw a punch, he finds ways to get other people to do it for him, and he's always protected. And so Daredevil is kind of really struggling to keep up with him most of the issue.
So if you had his power, Liz, right? Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't use it for bad things, but there'd be the odd thing where I'd be like, "You want to give me that for free?" And people would be like, "Okay." Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh, I'm kind of ahead of you in line. Oh, thanks. Like,
yeah, exactly. Sort of like your favorite film, you're like, "So I'm in the front, yeah," and they're like, "Yes, you are." Like,
of course, yeah.
I would use it for really petty shit like that, basically.
Yeah.
Like, and I wouldn't do it all the time because I'd feel like I'm totally ripping off like shops and stuff. But what would be the first thing you would do? So the first thing you do, you've got this power, you walk outside your door, where'd you go? What do you do?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I think, if you had asked me this question like a couple of months ago, it would have been like, Endgame premiere.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd have to actually like stand in front of the PR or something, though. You couldn't email them. Those pheromones wouldn't admit over emails. You'd have to like.
That's true. I wonder if you could like send an envelope with it, like and then mail it to them.
But I thought something to do in Jessica Jones. it's I felt it was something to do with his voice. So, because at the end, does she not wear headphones? Am I remembering that right? Because it's been a while since I've seen season one.
I mean, I think they, sometimes they kind of modify it a little bit, but like at least in this original incarnation, it is like that his body emits a pheromone. In Jessica Jones, it seems to work, with just his voice, and they, maybe they've kind of written off that, it has to be that he's in like a physical, there physically. I can't really remember exactly whether that was the case in Jessica Jones, but
because I remember
we find out in this issue that he was like a spy, like a Croatian spy, I believe, and that he was on some sort of mission, and he was in a like nerve gas testing facility, and this purple like experimental nerve gas spilled on him, and it turned him purple, so he's got purple skin, and also gave him this power of persuasion.
I love how he kind of just went with the purple theme as well. So he's got purple skin. He could have chosen a green suit, a black suit, a yellow suit, but he was like, you know what?
He's on brand. Like, he's always on brand,
He's like, you know what? I'm going full purple, and I'm going to call myself the Purple Man. There you go.
Yeah.
Not Mr. Persuasion, not Persuasion Man or like voice dude or pheromone guy. It was like, I'm just going to call myself the Purple Man. Like, that is...
I mean, it's effective. It's good, good marketing, I think.
Great marketing. I mean, you know what? If you saw Purple Man walking down the street, you know he was coming. I mean, he's not hiding it very well.
He would.
So before
and he's not trying to. Like, that's the beauty of it. He doesn't have to try to hide it,
Yeah, I love how he just walks around the street and he's like, attack them, protect me. Like, he's not really... Yeah, he's like a villain. Because we see a lot of villains in their ivory towers or their caves or their bunkers. And he's just walking about in his purple suit with his purple face going... just give me your stuff, do this for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually quite a good...
It works for him.
It totally works for him. I'd love to see more Purple Man. I have not watched Jessica Jones season 2. I didn't get beyond season 1. But we don't see Purple Man again, do we?
Well, I won't say anything, like, but...
okay.
But, yeah, I mean, don't expect too much. But, season 1, like... For me, I think he is, like, hands down one of the best villains that Marvel have had.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, David Tennant was amazing. Like, I thought he did such a fantastic job. And, like, honestly, like, people kind of critique Marvel's villains. But, if you look at the Netflix stuff, like, Kilgrave and the Kingpin, I think are two of the best ones they've had. Bar none, like, films and otherwise.
Oh, absolutely. I think it goes to show as well, writing and good actor. And I think the writing in Jessica Jones season 1 was good. Because I liked all the characters. I really liked her. Because as an actress, I've watched her in things before. I've seen her in Breaking Bad and stuff. And I wasn't ever that keen on her. And I really liked her as Jessica Jones. But David Tennant is a really good actor and very good at playing a villain, like a sneaky, slimy bastard, like he's really, really good at it. And definitely, even if we're talking about film and TV, in terms of Marvel, I would say he's probably one of the best. He's right up there in my sort of top 3, top 4 of best villains, because he's just really... Definitely. Those villains, it's kind of like back in the day when we watched films and it was just corporate villains or normal guys were actually the most horrible ones. That I kind of feel that for him. But no, I really enjoyed reading that this week, Liz, because I think it's important to go back and read old comics and actually remember where all of these stories came from. And
it made me laugh too, honestly. There's some really funny moments in it that you wouldn't get in like a comic now. There's like stuff like when he goes to the gym and basically like just gets all these big like muscly dudes like to come defend him.
I mean, I'm going to interrupt you there because you know what? I've just thought of something. Liz.
What?
We know that if you were Purple Liz, the first thing you would do, Purple Liz, the first thing you would do would be to persuade young men to show you their arms.
Oh my
So,
God.
I want you to roll up your
Like,
sleeves.
so I too would go down to the, I took inspiration from that. Would go to the local gym, be like, do some flexing. Yeah.
Just standing there in your all purple hoodie, purple t-shirt, purple Liz, just like, so can you roll up your sleeves a bit more? Yeah, that's right. Just do a few more bicep curls for me.
Like bigger weights.
Yeah, exactly. Bigger weights, you can do it. They're like, please, Liz, please. Yeah, definitely. I could see that. Purple Liz, #1, coming to a comic store near you. Anyway, we're going to move on from Purple Man. But before we do, Liz, tell us what we're reading next week. It's out today, right?
It is out today. It is Deadpool: The End, issue 1 by Joe Kelly, who is one of my favorite writers and absolutely one of my favorite writers on Deadpool. I was very excited to see that he was writing this issue. So that's what I picked.
So
I think it's going to be fun.
I've not read a Deadpool comic since Deadpool and Cable. Like, I've just not. Okay. So I've no idea what's going on the Deadpooliverse.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter? Yeah. Okay, all right. So fine. If you want to read that, we'll definitely put a link out for it for next week. So we'll put a link out. And if you're part of the community already in the Discord and you follow Liz and I online, we'll have those details at the end. You'll be able to see where you can read that comic. But if you want to read along with us, it's like our little book group for comic nerds, then you can.
Please do.
Yes, please. We want your opinions as well. So we're going to move swiftly on to whether we think superhero movies are real movies. Now, the reason why I chose to talk about superhero movies again is not because I just love them so much. Obviously, I do love them, but we talked a little bit about Captain Marvel, and there's always so much chatter around it. But I saw something again, a couple more tweets online again about superhero movies, which I'm going to show you just now. So here's the first one. So I'm almost covering your lovely face. So this is the first one from Adam Humphreys, and all of these tweets aren't tweeted to us, by the way. We find them online. Superhero movies in general are kind of boring. It's pretty much the same thing every time. They're just made for the purpose of making money. I'm with Scorsese. So to just explain, Scorsese came out a couple of months ago with this Empire interview and basically likened superhero movies to theme parks. And he elaborated on that with another article in the New York Times. But before we elaborate into that, Liz, what do you think of statements like that? And I'm with Scorsese. So we'll get into it properly. But what's your initial thoughts when you read things like that?
Well, I mean, I guess everyone is entitled to their opinion. But if you unpack what Martin Scorsese was saying and his reasons behind it, I think it's a little more complicated than just, superhero movies are boring and they're not real movies. And sort of, I agree with him. You have to look at what his reasons are for feeling that way.
Yes. Absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
It's always the case, Liz, and I think when you read these pull quotes from and it's the same as reading like The Sun or something, when you're on Twitter and you see these clickbait headlines and you're just like, ugh, and it does make you click into it, but there was more to that. There's a more human response, and his interview was not just him going, the MCU is rubbish. He wasn't just saying that, he was being quite kind about it. Let's read another tweet before we get into it. We'll unpack it as we go along. So this is from Spalding Pierce on Twitter. I don't hate the MCU, but I wish it didn't dominate Hollywood like it does. Finding good movies that aren't safe superhero flicks is really hard nowadays. Right. So we're getting into a little bit more of what Scorsese was meaning. Okay. But when you read a tweet like that, where you go, this person's going, God, finding good movies is really hard these days. What would your answer be to that?
I would say you're not trying hard enough. Because I I don't know. I feel like it's, like by comparison to 20 years ago or something like that, I mean, it's so accessible. Like, with all the different streaming services and Netflix, which has like a really good variety of films, like Amazon Prime, like, there's any kind of movie you want, if you go look for it. There are all sorts of great resources to finding, like, any kind of film you want. So to be honest, I think, the argument that, these MCU films existing means that you're unable to find other types of films, that doesn't really ring true for me.
Yeah, it's like it's like me going, Ed Sheeran exists. Now I can't hear any other music. I'm like, I'm sorry,
Right.
I mean, God, that would be a very sad world, first of all. And second, it's like, it's about finding things, when we were younger. So you and I, Liz, we were basically the same age. So we grew up in a time where there was record stores and stuff like that. And, you just go and discover things. Now we've got we've got Spotify. There's so much discovery on Spotify and Netflix and all of these things. In fact, there's more choice than we had than ever before. So that's just a daft. I think that statement is daft.
Yeah, because like if I wanted to like check out a film like back in the day and I couldn't like rent it at Blockbuster or something, I'd have to spend $20 on a DVD that I might or might not like. It's at the moment I feel like, yeah, you're spoiled for choice.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely spoiled for choice. I'm gonna dig into a little bit more about what Scorsese said, right? So his first interview with Empire, he did liken the MCU or those kind of films as like roller coaster rides, like theme parks. He said, this is a direct quote from that Empire article. He said, "It isn't the cinema of human beings trying to convey emotional, psychological responses." So then he came back and he elaborated a little bit more in a New York Times piece, where he basically said it's just not his taste. It's not his personal taste. I think that's okay. I think it's fine. I don't expect Scorsese to be an avid Marvel or DC fan. I don't really. Can you imagine him going, let's talk about, like, that death in Iron Man or that death in Avengers or whatever. What about Iron Man? I can't imagine him he's an auteur,
Yeah, exactly. It's not like, I mean, and isn't he in his 80s now? I mean,
he's older. It's not his thing. I mean, not he. I don't see him even in the 80s. Or the sort of 60s, 70s, 80s. I don't see him watching daft films. He's again an auteur. Like he is, one of those kind of filmmakers that makes films because they're art, because they're experiences in a different sort of way. He also said that I thought this was quite interesting and something which I think is quite sad, actually, and it's true, but he said that modern film franchises these days go through these market researched, audience tested, vetted, modified processes to come out with the perfect product. And whilst that's sad, and I have been in one of those testing situations where I have to write all my comments and I see a very, very rough version of the film, write all my comments, and then you see it again and it's completely edited. It's like completely different. I'm like, oh, I wonder if my comment made a difference there. But, that's what they're there for. These films, the big studios want to make money. So that's the sort of best way to make it. And he also made some good points about Hitchcock as well, saying things about, Hitchcock was a franchise in himself, I think what Scorsese was getting at is he likes human experiences. And if you think about superhero movies, we have an experience, but those are not real human emotions. I mean, nobody understands what it's like to be a superhero, for example. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't relate. But what do you think?
I would disagree somewhat, because I do think actually, like, if you look at the MCU, I do feel like, regardless of whether the characters are, superheroes or aliens or whatever, I think they actually, are well written enough that you get their, their emotions and their, humanity. I feel like, I can really identify with, like, Captain America's struggle in Winter Soldier and, what he was wrestling with there. And I actually really feel like, like good storytelling transcends whatever genre it's in. And of course, Scorsese himself has said, like, well, I don't really watch them. So, like, is he the authority on whether they contain those
No.
thine? I don't know.
And he's
I would
also,
disagree. Like,
he's allowed his opinion. He's absolutely
yeah, of
allowed his
course he is.
opinion. We all have a different film opinion. It's absolutely fine. And, you know, Liz, it doesn't surprise me that you can relate to characters in the Marvel Universe because you are Purple Liz. That is basically
right.
Liz
So,
is Purple Liz. She
course.
knows what it's like to live the life of a villain. Like, so, you know. But, like,
Yeah, it's complex.
the Scorsese thing's interesting. Oh, let's read out one more tweet, which I just quite liked. Interesting how Ken Loach says superhero movies aren't good, but yet he made the original Hawkeye movie, Kess. Now, you've not watched Kestrel for an Eve, have you?
No, but I know about Cass.
Kess is a
the
film.
most depressing Hawkeye movie ever.
It's so depressing. If you want to see a really depressing Hawkeye movie, Hawk Guy movie, this person says, then go watch Kess. I was made to watch it and read the book when I was in school. Let's talk about Joker, because Joker is a film that is not a superhero film. It's a sort of film about a villain, I guess, set in a comic book sort of setting, because we all know who the Joker is. You have seen Joker. I have still not seen Joker. When you watched Joker, what were your feelings towards Joker? Is that a proper film, would you say?
Okay, I mean, so this is like the Joker movie is really the catalyst for where all of this Scorsese stuff started coming out.
Yes.
Because Todd Phillips has been very outspoken about the fact that he drew his inspiration for the Joker movie from some famous Scorsese films, particularly King of Comedy and Taxi Driver.
Yes.
And you can really feel that. When you watch the Joker movie, you absolutely see that that's what he was channeling, to the point where he had Robert De Niro, like, in the film, basically portraying the talk show character from King of Comedy.
Yes.
Sort of, and flipping that around. And I thought that was great. I thought it was really cool the way they, like, that Todd Phillips paid homage to those films and managed to, use that as a template for, a quote unquote comic book film.
Yes.
That's really grounded in reality more than, any of the MCU films or most of the DCEU films. And I really liked his approach, and I liked how, how he, brought in the tone from those films that he loved. And because I think Scorsese, was then asked to comment on that, this is where his whole feelings about the MCU came out. I really like the Joker movie. It's like, and it really does feel to me like, it's got that quality of like a, early 80s Scorsese film about it.
I mean, that goes to show, like, it's like, I mean, the Joker is a very complex character. Has been written. I like Brian Azzarello's Joker. And I like
there are so many takes on the Joker, and
Yes.
this is just like one of them.
Exactly.
And that's the whole like beauty of the Joker, is that he is an unknowable character, and so you can do all these different interpretations of him, and they can all work because you never really know who he is.
And that sort of shows you, I guess I would love to know if Martin Scorsese will see or has seen the Joker. Now, that's not a superhero film in what he was talking about. He was talking about those big, bombastic MCU films. But I would love to know his take, because from what I read and what I hear about the Joker, it's a very character-driven piece. And that interests me. But I do feel that we can have, there are different types of films that we are allowed to like. So I like to, I like to call the serious ones chin scratchers, because they're the proper films. And then there's the dumb shit that we like, right? So in terms of chin scratchers, right? Okay, you and I both like serious and silly films. I've got an image up here of some chin scratching movies that Liz has chosen. Now, what have we got here? Donnie Darko, Suspiria, the original Dario Argento Suspiria. Have you seen the new one?
I haven't yet, actually. I've heard it's good.
It's very, very, very good.
Yeah, I've heard it's good.
I really, really liked it. And we've got Trainspotting as well. I love Trainspotting. I love all of these films.
I love, yeah.
So,
me too.
what for you if we're talking about proper films, how would you describe these as proper films then? How does this differentiate?
Well, I mean, I think by describing them as proper films, I think it's just the sort of thing I would have thought was like, a proper film when I was like, in my late teens or something like that, and thought like, oh, I have this really highbrow, excellent taste, like, this
Yeah.
this sort of fits with my image of like how cool I am.
So is this a snapshot of teenage Liz right here?
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
kind of. Like, I mean, I still think they're really great films. I think like something like Donnie Darko is like an awesome movie. Like, the first time I watched it, it just totally blew my mind, and I loved how different it was to anything else I had seen before. And same with Suspiria, and same with Trainspotting, and they're all really different to each other. And like, and I love that. I love being able to walk into a movie and like just get something completely different to something I've ever experienced before.
Yes.
And I think that is kind of what Scorsese's argument is that, okay, these Marvel films, there's a sameness to them. And, you're not going to be surprised, and you're not going to, have this revelation every time you watch one of them. But you know what? Like, I think that's also underselling them a lot. Like, because I feel like, most of the Marvel films I've gone to see have, kind of blown my mind in a totally different way.
Yeah, exactly. I like, you know what, like, because we are basically the same age. This was a bit of, apart from Suspiria, I had a Trainspotting poster on my wall, and Donnie Darko blew my mind. I remember seeing it going, I love Donnie Darko. That is now my new favourite film. I remember I was oh my God.
Like,
so good. And then
I probably watched it like, 100 times or something,
And did you notice Jake Gyllenhaal's arms in that one, Liz?
They were under a hoodie most of the time. Or like a skeleton sort of onesie.
I do like the skeleton onesie. Really wanted the skeleton
really
onesie.
I had one.
So here's a snapshot of my teenage years: Fight Club, Blade Runner, and Memento. So
So you and I
same
season of pod. Like I was obsessed with all of these as well.
Oh my God! So Blade Runner, I liked a little bit before I was a teenager. I just remember just watching it a lot. And this is a chin scratcher, as I'm calling them, for me, because it's just a really well written, like, sci-fi noir. And Ridley Scott, I feel, as Ridley Scott's a brilliant director, but for me, he's not as good as he was in the sort of first period of his career. I'm not going to say his first film, because he's written a lot of great films. I'd say the first middle part of his career, great films, and I've not so much enjoyed the latter half, but Blade Runner was amazing. Fight Club blew my mind, because I think we've mentioned it before. I really love beating up Edward Norton as well. I don't know why.
Me too.
And it was the first time that I really was quite aware of the Gen X-ness of it all, and I didn't really understand the differentiation between generations like we do now, but this is such a Gen X film, this is a Gen X book, and it really, really felt that come through. And then Memento is just a great film. I mean, the Christopher Nolan's best, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I love Memento. And and it's interesting storytelling. I think all three of those films have something in common, and in that, they kind of, give you something on the surface and then kind of flip it on its head.
Yes.
And basically just, you come out of it with the experience of feeling like you just were totally bowled over and surprised by what you got from them.
So those are our chin scratchers, right? But, we're allowed to like other stuff too. This was Liz's selection of dumb movies that she likes. Norbit. Like, very surprised.
Oh,
I love it. But really happy to see Hot Tub Time Machine's a great film, and The Hot Chick. I love The Hot Chick. So good.
I love The Hot Chick.
So what is it about when you're going to watch a dumb film, as we'll call it? Like, what is it you're looking for? What makes you go, yeah, that's just awesome?
I just I don't know. Like I will always kind of try anything with Eddie Murphy or Will Ferrell or particular actors who I just know are just hilarious, and I like stupid premises. I like non-PC things like Eddie Murphy in a giant fat suit dressed as like, you know, a woman. You know, I don't know. I'm just kind of easily pleased when it comes to like dumb comedies.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Like, I love things like Dumb and Dumber for me. I'm like, oh my god, Dumb and Dumber's so good. So for me, like, Dumb and Dumber and things like that. But actually, look at like, so if we just take a moment to just consider your dumb movies. So we've got Hot Chick, Hot Tub Time Machine, and Norbit. Comedies, right? So I was surprised to see those. I was like, okay, Liz. So then I had to choose my dumb movies. Check that out. Pure testosterone. Pure.
I knew yours were. Yeah, I suspected that yours were going to be a lots of like, you know, body oil and.
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah.
muscles.
Lots of like explosions, body oil, one-liners. Really, I mean, I could have gone for 10 of these films. I could have like chosen 10 dumb movies. Like 3 is enough.
I could have too.
I talk about talk machine. I talk about Time Cop so much when I'm streaming on Twitch. True Lies is one. I just love that movie. I think it's a really good action film. It's so of the time. It's so 90s. Because you had like the Last Action Hero and stuff, and then you had True Lies. And Demolition Man. Now, you've not seen Demolition Man, have you?
No, I have not seen Demolition Man.
Okay, so Liz doesn't know about the 3 seashells. So you have to just go what? I was talking.
Yeah, anyone who wants to explain, like, you know, I'm very curious.
If you want to explain how you think the 3 seashells in Demolition Man works, please tweet me or Liz. Please tweet us. Liz, you have to see the film. Demolition Man is so dumb. And Time Cop, I just love like a stupid Jean-Claude Van Damme film. But for me, like, if I'm going to be really honest, I think we shouldn't differentiate between dumb films and chin scratchers. Because at the end of the day, like, a film is a film is a film is a film. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, I get what Martin Scorsese was saying, and he was like, yeah, I know you can go on Netflix, but, you know, it would be better to see it on the big screen and blah, blah, blah. Times have changed a little bit now. Like, I just feel that you go to the big screen for me to eat popcorn, to have ice cream, to sit with your friends or your loved ones and just watch a big dumb film. That's what I want. And sometimes there have been times where I've watched The Witch, or I've watched Hereditary, or I've watched like a horror film on the big screen, and I'm like, okay.
I love horror films on the big screen, actually. Like, that's, you know, those are the 2 types of films I like to see in the cinema the most, is superhero films and horror films.
Do you get scared at horror films in the cinema, Liz? Are you a scared
I love seeing them in the cinema because, like, yeah, like, if you're gonna jump, like, you know, it's
Are you quite jumpy? Do
Absolutely.
you scream? Are you a bit of a screamer? Or do you get scared?
I will jump. I don't think I scream. But, like, you know, yeah, I will actually get scared.
Okay, right. We'll go together. I'm a loud screamer, and you're a jumper, so we'll probably annoy everyone. But yeah, I don't think we should differentiate. You know, you go to cinema for a different reason, and then I've watched some great films at home that are only available on streaming services, like Wounds, a really great horror film, available on Netflix, and I've talked about it many times when I'm streaming on Twitch. What a great film, and what a good find, you know, Wounds. And Wounds is just such a good film, but again, streaming. So I just think we watch things for different reasons. I think everyone needs to calm down. I think everyone just needs to calm down. Superhero films are real films. They were made with a camera and a director and a producer and with actors. They're films. So is a Hitchcock film. So is Time Cop. So is Norbit. They're films. Oh my god. I think we should just celebrate our stupidity over, like, let's just celebrate all the things we love. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And it all does come down to personal taste. Like, Martin Scorsese does not have to like the Marvel movies, and that's okay.
No, he really doesn't.
You know, it really has nothing to do with your enjoyment of the Marvel films or anyone else's, like, you know, matter of taste.
It doesn't. You don't have to have people agreeing with you all the time. That's the thing. That's the beauty of debate, of conversation, that somebody says something, you try and understand it, and then you learn. But you don't have to agree all the time. I always say it's like movie DNA, and we all have this different movie DNA that makes us completely unique. So Liz and I will have the same loves, but we will also have difference differences there, and that's what makes us completely unique. Liz is a totally different person from me, but we have crossovers. That's okay. I like a bit of Hitchcock. Hitchcock? I almost said hedgehog. I like a bit of Hitchcock too. Oh my god, I can't say it. But at the same time, I can also like a bit of Time Cop. It's okay, right? I think that's fine.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. So what we're saying is it's all good. We are positive nerds after all, and this is a Positive Nerd podcast. So, but that's all we've got for this week. I mean, this is it. Like, God, I can't believe like we're coming up for an hour, Liz. That's an hour gone. Another hour passed. Wow. An episode.
I could have kept going.
I know. An episode 3 as well. I can't believe we're in our 3rd episode as well. It feels like we've been doing it forever now. It's good.
I know, it is.
I'm enjoying these weekly nerdy chats. Now, Liz, tell us before we do all the social media stuff and all the kind of like, where can you find me? Tell us again about next week's comic.
Next week's comic is called Deadpool: The End, Issue 1, written by Joe Kelly. It should be on the shelves at your local comic shop now from today. And you will be able to find it on digitally on like the Marvel website or on Comixology. Should have it as well. So there are a variety of ways for you to find this comic. Please go and find this comic and read it along with us. We would love to hear what you guys think about these things week to week. So yes, please join us.
Yes, please join us. That's our little like comic book group part of the pod. So if you want to tweet us any suggestions of topics, if you want to tweet us any suggestions of what to read. Now, if you're talking about topics, Liz and I have to remind you, it has to be topics that divide fandoms, but we can bring them together, right? Not just moaning about things. Please make sure that you follow me and Liz. So, Liz, where can people follow you?
You can find me on Twitter at Liz C. Jordan and on Instagram as at Liz C. Jordan.
Great. So that's nice and simple. Just Liz C. Jordan on Twitter and Instagram. So go follow Liz. Go make sure you tweet her some comic stuff. Have chats with Liz. Go online. Like talk about what you've heard here. If you want to follow me, it's Wee Claire on Twitter. It's Wee Claire here on Instagram and Wee Claire here on Twitch as well. And make sure that you subscribe to Positive Nerd Podcast on nerdjabber.com. You can download it. It's available now on Spotify, iTunes, and on my YouTube channel, Wee Claire here on YouTube. It's been absolutely lovely. Liz, it's been great again. So good to have you here. So, guys, keep it positive. Keep it nerdy. Thank you very much for listening. And we will see you next week. Bye!